He's got a better vertical than his brother.
His brother, who played basketball about an hour and a half from here at Brown.
One day you're leading a major championship. The next, you're disqualified. You're about to see the craziest golf shots that ruined or saved players' rounds. These are the 20 most unexpected golf moments ever recorded. You ever see a shot so ridiculous it doesn't even make sense? The kind where physics should have said, absolutely not, but the ball said, watch this? Well, watch this. Cameron Young, first hole of the 2023 RBC Heritage. And his tournament starts in the absolute worst way possible. He hooks his drive so violently left that it looked like it should have been out of bounds. The ball somehow stays in play, but barely. Now he's standing behind this wall of trees with zero room to work with. There's no green in sight, no fairway, just branches and trouble everywhere you look. And then it gets insane. Young decides he's not chipping out. He lines up for this ridiculous hook shot, the kind that bends like it's defying gravity. He swings and the ball takes off on this sharp, aggressive curve that shouldn't be physically possible. It's moving through gaps between trees that you couldn't thread with your eyes closed and a prayer. The ball somehow found the green with ease, landing softly like he'd hit it from the middle of the fairway. And then he made birdie. From a shot that should have been a disaster. From a lie with no business producing anything good. Young turned it into one of the most jaw-dropping escapes you'll ever see. But hang on, because that's just getting started. Try wrapping your head around this. $11.44 million hanging in the balance during a sudden death playoff. Your ball just rolled into a lake. This is the kind of moment where your entire life flashes before your eyes while you're still holding a golf club. And of course, it happened at the second playoff hole at East Lake Bill Haas against Hunter Mahan for the 2011 FedEx Cup. Haas hits his approach shot right of the green, and the ball tumbles down the slope. Splash, into the water it goes. Should be game over. Shake hands, collect your check, try not to think about what just slipped away. But when Haas walks up to the lake, he sees the ball sitting half submerged on the bank. So, it is still playable. Well, barely. Meanwhile, Mahan's on the green from 15 feet, already calculating what he'll do with $11.44 million. And this is where the madness begins. It was an all-or-nothing shot, Haas said. He takes an enormous backswing like he's hitting an explosion bunker shot. Water flies everywhere, and the ball lands 3 feet from the hole. Sometimes you make your own miracle from the edge of disaster. Next up, speaking of miracles, imagine coming back from wrist surgery after 5 months away from the game. New putter, new driver, new wrist, trying to figure out how to manage all three at once. That's where Jordan Spieth found himself during the final round at TPC Scottsdale in February 2025. Still shaking off the rust, but somehow in contention. Then his tee shot on the par 4 11th slices right into the trees. The ball comes to rest in desert sand, nestled at the bottom of a bush. No right-handed shot is happening here. The branches are too thick, the angle too awkward. His hands would have to stop well short of the ball if he tried the conventional way. So Spieth does what Spieth does. He starts thinking. He even considers a fairway wood at one point, trying different stances, weighing his options. Then it hits him. He flips around, stands left-handed with his putter, and takes a swipe. The ball rolls 34 yards back toward the fairway, leaving him 128 yards to the hole. From there, he knocks it to 12 feet and buries the par putt. It was one of the better pars he'd ever made, Spieth said afterward. And yeah, he's probably right. Not many players would even think to try that shot. Fewer still would actually pull it off, coming in next. Honestly, a lot of these shots are thanks to players getting pretty creative. Like this one. Opening round at TPC Scottsdale in 2023. And Rory McIlroy is grinding through one of those days where nothing feels easy when his drive decides to make things worse. A booming 325-yard tee shot sails over the path on the right side of the fairway and keeps going. When he walks up to it, the situation doesn't look any good. The ball is lodged in the dirt next to a metal fence surrounded by desert scrub and trees. There's barely any room to take a backswing. The smart play here is obvious. Punch it sideways back to the fairway, take your bogey, move on. But McIlroy isn't interested in the smart play. He gets over the ball and realizes the angle is better than it looked. The green is actually farther right than he thought. There's a gap. Tiny, but it's there. He decides to take it more on the inside than usual, toe it in a little bit, and hit a hard draw against the wind blowing from the left. And somehow, it works. The ball travels yards through the trees and somehow finds the center of the green. Just like that, McIlroy walks off with par like it was nothing. Another player who loves doing magic tricks is Phil Mickelson. You could see this in the final hole of the 2008 Crowne Plaza Invitational at Colonial. Mickelson has a one-stroke lead, chasing his 34th PGA Tour victory. All he needs is a routine par to seal it. Simple enough. His drive goes well left into heavy rough, buried among the trees. Now he's standing 140 yards from the pin with tall oaks blocking his path. He needs to hit under one tree and over another just to have a chance. Behind him, Rod Pampling is in the middle of the fairway with a clear look at the green. So, what does Phil Mickelson do? He found a ridiculous option available. He pulls out a wedge and takes a rip from the rough. The ball clips branches on its way up, soaring sky high through the opening. Mickelson can't even see it through the trees. He takes a couple steps, then starts jogging through an opening just in time to watch the ball fall back to earth. And surprise, it lands 9 feet from the hole. He drains the birdie putt, wins by one stroke. Magic or creativity? You name it. Now, if you think that's wild, wait until you see this. It's the second round of the 2022 WGC Dell Match Play at Austin Country Club. Keegan Bradley is one down to Adam Scott on the 18th hole, and he's been trailing the entire match. Even 3 down with just 4 holes to play. He needs a birdie just to tie. Then his drive on 18 goes sideways. A massive block slice sends it so far right that his ball settles directly behind a row of trees, more than 100 yards behind Scott. But there's a gap, maybe a foot wide, maybe less. Bradley stares it down, pulls an iron, and punches through that tiny opening. Next thing you know, the ball explodes through the trees with a sharp left-to-right curve. It bounds up the hill, catches the slope on the left edge of the green, and rides the contour down toward the hole. It keeps rolling, finally stops. 3 feet from the cup. Bradley drains the birdie. Scott 2 putts for par, match tied. From a spot where most players would be happy just to advance the ball forward, Bradley threaded a needle and saved his match. Absolutely ridiculous. Now we're looking for more creativity, and this is our guy. Sahith Theegala has built a reputation on tour for one thing: escaping the impossible. His caddy Carl Smith admits there's probably one shot per tournament where he just has to trust him, saying he's never regretted it because Theegala always seems to pull it off. The guy has this ability when he's out of position off the tee to just shape it crazy around trees. During the 2022 John Deere Classic, he found himself in trouble again. Ball in the trees, no clear path to the green, the kind of spot where taking your medicine is the smart play, but Theegala sees that there's a gap to work with. He bends, swings, and there goes the ball like it's following a programmed flight path. It finds the green, rolls close to the hole. He pulled it off beautifully and got the ball to land just under 10 feet from the hole. But it's fair considering the guy's a total legend. Theegala's warm-up routine even includes shots with tons of curve, hitting 5 irons that cut 30 yards, then drivers with high hooks, all kinds of random stuff. Now we're about to raise the stakes, and for that, we land at a tournament hanging by a thread. You've got 2 choices. Play it safe or trust your hands to pull off something borderline insane. Of course, we're talking about Augusta, one of the most pressurized stretches in all of golf. Phil Mickelson has the lead, but only by a stroke over Lee Westwood when he found himself in the par 5 13th hole, where Masters tournaments get won or lost. His drive pulls left into the famous Augusta Pines, and the ball settles in pine straw behind a tree. Terrible spot. Some would say protect the lead at all cost. Don't do anything reckless. But guys, this is Phil Mickelson at Augusta. Playing safe won't win green jackets. He pulls out a 6-iron, clips the ball clean off the pine straw, and threads it through that tiny gap. The draw spin carries it over the water and onto the green, landing softly just short of the hole before rolling 4 feet past. He wins by 3 strokes and claims his 3rd green jacket, because sometimes the riskiest shot is exactly the right one. Next up, you know what's harder than hitting a perfect approach shot? Hitting one when you can't even see where you're aiming. Just ask Matteo Manassero. The guy is grinding through the European Tour, trying to claw his way up the leaderboard. The Italian's comeback story has been one of golf's most incredible resurrections. From losing his tour card and nearly quitting the game completely, to winning again after 11 years. But right now, none of that matters, because he's standing 136 yards from the pin with absolutely 0 line of sight to the green. Trees everywhere, no view of the flag, no view of the putting surface, just a whole lot of branches and hope. And now it is time for Manassero to trust his hands. He takes his stance, swings, and sends the ball on a flight path he can only imagine in his mind. The ball disappears into the trees, and for a second, nobody knows where it's going. Then, it emerges on the other side, dropping onto the green like it had GPS built into it. Pin high. Absolutely pin high from a shot he couldn't even see. See, proof of you don't always need eyes. You just need feel. And Manassero's got plenty of that. This next one takes us back to Augusta, but this time our main guy is Rory McIlroy, watching his 5-shot lead evaporating into thin air. Double bogey at 13, water ball, nightmare stuff. Then another bogey at 14. Suddenly, the guy who looked untouchable just 8 holes earlier is now tied for the lead. The demons are back. The whispers are getting louder. And then comes the 15th hole. Yes, the same spot where Masters are won or lost. His drive takes off beautifully but turns over left, settling behind a wall of Georgia pines. When he walks up to it, the situation looks really bad. Trees blocking his path to the green, all what he has left is now in danger. So, what does McIlroy do? He pulls a 7-iron from over 200 yards out with no clear window. Then he takes this massive rip, and the ball launches on this sweeping hook that shouldn't physically work. How it ends? Well, of course, the ball finds the green and rolls to 7 feet for eagle. They called it the shot of a lifetime. But really, it was McIlroy doing exactly what he came to Augusta to do. It's the final day at Whistling Straits, and America needs fireworks. The crowd is restless. 2 teammates have already stumbled out of the gates, and suddenly all eyes turn to the one man who's been promising the impossible all week long. As the announcer's voice boomed across the course, now on the tee, representing the United States of America, Bryson DeChambeau. The crowd erupted before he even took his stance. There's no bigger show in golf than the Ryder Cup, and DeChambeau was built for exactly these kinds of moments. DeChambeau, already pumped up by the crowd, reached for his driver. The front edge of the green sat 340 yards away, an impossible target for most players. But then, he unleashed a mammoth drive. With his insane power, he reached it. The ball rolled onto the green, giving both him and Scheffler an eagle opportunity. But here's where it got even better. While the crowd went absolutely insane, his caddy grabbed the putter and handed it to him right there on the freaking tee box. DeChambeau, pumped up with putter in hand, raised it triumphantly in the air, still standing on the tee. The crowd loved it, and so did everyone watching. But Bryson wasn't done. He still faced 41 feet of treacherous green between him and history. The eagle putt rolled true, disappearing into the cup. He had just become, reportedly, the first player in Ryder Cup history to open a match with an eagle. Absolute legend. Back in 2010, the Ryder Cup at Celtic Manor was turning into an absolute nightmare. Rain had pounded Wales for days, turning the course into a swamp and pushing the final round to Monday. The first time that had ever happened. America was defending the cup, but they were getting crushed by Colin Montgomery's European squad. And then there was Tiger. But this wasn't the Tiger we knew. His personal life had exploded just months earlier. He hadn't won a tournament all year and barely qualified for the team as a captain's pick. Monday morning arrives and America needs miracles. Tiger's facing Francesco Molinari in singles. They reach the 12th hole and Molinari has just stuck his approach shot pin high, setting up an almost certain birdie. Tiger's 150 yards out, water in front of the green. He pulls an iron and goes straight at the flag. The swing looked pure, ball tracking toward the pin over that menacing water. But instead of just finding the green, it took one tiny hop and disappeared straight into the cup. Incredible. That eagle didn't save America's Ryder Cup, but for one magical moment, it reminded everyone that even when Tiger was broken, he could still break your heart with brilliance. Next up, this is the Belfry, 1989. Europe was clinging to the Ryder Cup by their fingernails, and their hopes were resting on the shoulders of, well, someone most people thought didn't belong there. Christy O'Connor Jr. was 41 years old, ranked 71st in the world, dead last on either team. The British press had crucified Captain Tony Jacklin for picking him, calling him Europe's weak link. Even O'Connor himself woke up Sunday morning reading newspaper articles, basically writing him off before his singles match against Fred Couples. Standing on the 18th tee all square against the future world number 1, O'Connor watched helplessly as Couples ripped a perfect drive around the dogleg. The American was left with just a 9-iron to the green. Meanwhile, O'Connor was staring down a 2-iron from 229 yards. Over water. This was it. Miss, and Europe loses the cup. O'Connor took one last look at that menacing pond protecting the green. Then he pulled the trigger. The ball soared over the water, landed soft on the green, and rolled to within 4 feet of the hole. O'Connor buried the putt, Europe retained the cup 14-14, and the so-called weak link had delivered the strongest moment of his life. Coming in next. This guy was just 21 years old at Celtic Manor, making his debut in golf's most pressure-packed team event. Rickie Fowler, the kid from Oklahoma State, had already made one costly rookie mistake earlier in the week, a rules blunder that cost his team a hole. And now, standing in the greenside bunker on the 11th hole, Fowler had a choice. Play it safe, get it somewhere on the green, and hope Phil Mickelson could clean up the mess. Or go for broke. The lie wasn't great. The angle was tricky. But something told the young American to trust his hands and swing with conviction. The ball exploded out of the sand, arced toward the flag, hit the green once, and there it went straight into the cup. The Americans clawed back into contention, and suddenly the kid everyone questioned was looking like Captain Corey Pavin's smartest pick. Because in the Ryder Cup, heroes are born in moments like these. It was supposed to be over. The 2002 Ryder Cup at the Belfry was slipping away from America's grasp, and everyone knew it. Europe had exploded out of the blocks Sunday morning, winning 4.5 points from the first 6 singles matches. The scoreboards told a brutal story. Team USA was staring down the barrel of another European victory on home soil. Then came the cruelest twist of all. Niclas Faas was one up against Paul Azinger with 1 hole to play. Win this hole and Europe has the cup. Simple as that. But Azinger, the grizzled veteran who'd never lost a Ryder Cup singles match, wasn't about to go quietly. On the 18th at the Belfry, Azinger found himself staring at complete disaster. His approach shot had found the bunker left of the green. Fast was safely on the green, 30 feet from glory. America's flickering hopes were about to be extinguished. From that greenside trap, Azinger blasted his ball over a small mound. It landed softly on the green, rolled down the slope, and disappeared into the cup for a miraculous eagle. The American team went absolutely crazy. Azinger leapt in the air, fists pumping wildly. And for one magical moment, the impossible had happened again. Next up, nobody knew who this guy was. Jeff Overton, the 7th qualifier for America's 2010 Ryder Cup team, had never won on the PGA Tour. He was just a grinding journeyman from Indiana who somehow earned his way to Celtic Manor by sheer persistence. Team USA was getting pummeled in the 3rd session. The rain-soaked Welsh course was proving brutal, and they were down 2 holes after 7 in their 4-balls match against Europe. Then came the par 4 8th hole. Overton's tee shot found the fairway, leaving him about 150 yards to the pin. Nothing special. But what happened next would change that. Overton's iron shot never touched the green. It flew straight at the flag, took 1 hop, and vanished into the cup for a shocking eagle. He and Bubba Watson felt like kings, jumping and yelling as they marched down the fairway like they just won the whole tournament. It was raw emotion from a guy who had never experienced anything like this before. And just like that, he wasn't just some unknown grinder anymore. He was a Ryder Cup legend. The eagle got them back in the match even if they ultimately lost 2 up. This next moment brings us to Sunday at Medina Country Club, 2012. America was supposed to win this thing. They dominated for 2 days, building what looked like an insurmountable lead. But then Ian Poulter went on his legendary Saturday evening tear, and suddenly the impossible was looking, well, still impossible, but maybe slightly less so. That's when Justin Rose found himself paired against Phil Mickelson in Sunday singles. The 17th hole at Medina is a tricky par 3 with water guarding the left side. Mickelson had chipped it stone dead from behind the green. Looking confident, he was about to put the match away. All Rose could do was watch as Phil lined up what looked like a tournament-clinching birdie putt. But the chip slid just past the hole. Still, Rose was staring down a monster. A 35-foot downhill putt with about 6 feet of break. Miss this, and his match was over. The putt started left, caught the slope perfectly, and rolled, straight into the heart of the cup. Another pressure-packed performance that was so satisfying to watch. Next up, it was the 2021 Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas were in trouble against Jon Rahm and Sergio Garcia, 2 holes down with only 2 left in their Friday foursomes match. On the par 3 17th, Thomas hit his tee shot and it couldn't have gone worse. The ball bounced off a mound, rolled across the green, and then trickled down a steep slope toward Lake Michigan. It stopped in the rough on what looked like a wall of grass about 10 feet high. From where Spieth stood, he could barely even see the green. If he swung wrong, the ball might end up back in the lake, or he might tumble in himself. Still, Spieth opened up his wedge and went for it. He swung hard, launching the ball straight into the air. The shot was perfect, even as Spieth's momentum carried him stumbling backward down the hill, nearly 24 steps toward the water. The ball landed just 5 feet from the hole. It was one of the most unlikely and incredible recovery shots in Ryder Cup history. This next one is crazy. Sometimes you need skill, sometimes you need luck, but rarely do you need both at the exact same moment, like Tony Finau did at Le Golf National in 2018. Standing on the 16th tee, a nasty par 3 with water everywhere, Tony knew he was in trouble the moment he hit it. The ball came up way short, heading straight for the drink. But sometimes the ball bounces your way. Tony's shot crashed into the wooden plank that separated the water from dry land. Instead of splashing into the hazard, it rocketed high into the air and bounced onto the green, rolling to within 3 feet of the hole. The European crowd couldn't believe it. They actually started booing his good fortune. Tony stood there for about 10 seconds trying to figure out what just happened. He knocked in the birdie to tie the match, and suddenly, America had life. Rose would later dump his shot into the water on 18, and Finau and Koepka escaped with an unlikely one-up victory. That crazy bounce might have saved America's entire morning. All right, on to the next. Hazeltine, in 2016, was loud. American golf fans had waited 8 long years to get their hands on the Ryder Cup again, and they were ready to explode. But nobody was more ready than Patrick Reed, the self-proclaimed Captain America who played golf like it was a street fight. The 6th hole at Hazeltine was a beast. A 642-yard par 5 that was one of the longest holes in major championship history. Reed laid up perfectly with his second shot, leaving himself 79 yards to the pin on one of golf's biggest stages. So Patrick Reed took his wedge and sent the ball flying over the flagstick. It landed a few feet past the hole, grabbed, and started spinning back toward the cup. And then it happened. The ball caught just enough of the lip and disappeared for eagle. Reed absolutely lost his mind. He threw his hands in the air, screamed at the Minnesota sky, and started high-fiving anyone wearing red, white, and blue. Jordan Spieth later said Reed's celebration high-five was so hard, he thought his hand was broken. Honestly, this was Reed at his absolute peak, turning pressure into fuel and giving American fans the kind of raw emotion they'd been craving for nearly a decade. Next up, back in 2014, Europe's postman was having delivery problems at Gleneagels. Ian Poulter had been completely humiliated in the opening round. He and Stephen Gallagher got thrashed 5-4 by rookies Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed. For a player who'd built his entire Ryder Cup reputation on clutch moments and never backing down, it was embarrassing. Things got worse when Poulter found himself in the most awkward spot imaginable on the 15th, 50 yards from the pin, over a menacing bunker with the entire match hanging in the balance. The shot required perfection. Too little and the ball would find the sand. Too much and it would race past the hole. But this is Ian Poulter we're talking about, the man who transforms into a different beast when the pressure gets white hot. He took one look at that flag and let it rip. The ball soared over the bunker, landed softly on the green, and began tracking toward the hole like a guided missile. The Scottish crowd held its breath, then erupted as it disappeared for an unlikely birdie, keeping Europe's hopes alive when they desperately needed it most. This moment is for the real ones out there. The people who saw this on TV or in real life know what I mean. Now it's the 1983 Ryder Cup at PGA National, and it was slipping through Europe's fingers. The opening singles match between Seve Ballesteros and Fuzzy Zoeller held the key to everything. But the 18th at PGA National was a monster. A 578-yard par 5 with sand left, water right, and pressure everywhere. Both players found the rough off the tee, but Seve's troubles were just beginning. His second shot barely made it to a fairway bunker, still 245 yards from the green. The ball was sitting under a 3-foot lip. Any sane golfer would chip out sideways and try to make par the safe way. But this was Seve, remember? He pulled out his persimmon 3-wood and studied the shot. Something crazy was about to happen. Seve somehow cut that 3-wood shot perfectly, a high, curving ball that flew 225 yards over water and found the edge of the green. The crowd went wild. Even the Americans couldn't believe what they'd just seen. Nicklaus later called it the greatest shot I ever saw. But here's the kicker. This shot was too good to be televised. ABC wasn't even on the air yet. Unfortunately, there's no footage available of this incredible moment, but the old golf fans will remember it like it was yesterday. Next one. The 1999 Ryder Cup at the Country Club was turning into a disaster for Tiger Woods. After 3 days of embarrassing defeats, the world number one had managed just one win in 4 matches. At the 8th hole, his approach shot found the worst possible spot, way right of the green, sitting in thick rough with a tricky downhill lie. The pin was tucked on the far side, at least 40 yards away. Any normal player would just try to get it close and hope for par. Tiger had other ideas. He grabbed a low lofted iron and played it like a long putt. The ball came out running, skipped across the green, and started tracking toward the hole like it had legs. It rolled closer and closer until it disappeared into the cup. Tiger pumped his fist as his teammates went crazy nearby. That chip and eagle gave America the spark they desperately needed. Within hours, Justin Leonard would drain his famous putt, and the Americans would complete their miracle comeback. But it all started with Tiger's magic on the 8th green. Next up, see, when Pete Dye designed the 5th hole at Whistling Straits, he thought he'd built the perfect golf trap. A winding 581-yard par 5 that snaked right around water and bunkers. 3 shots for even the longest hitters. What he didn't plan for was Bryson DeChambeau showing up with 40 extra pounds of muscle and a complete disregard for traditional golf. Friday afternoon at the 2021 Ryder Cup, DeChambeau stood on that tee box and did something that made absolutely no sense. While his partner Scottie Scheffler aimed left down the fairway like every sane golfer would, Bryson turned right. Not slightly right, all the way right. Over water, over fans, over everything. For a moment, it looked like he'd lost his mind. There was nothing but trouble in that direction for the next 400 yards. Even the TV cameras missed it because nobody expected what came next. With 20-mile-per-hour winds at his back, DeChambeau unleashed a bomb that traveled 417 yards through the air, cutting off the entire dogleg and landing safely in the fairway. Then he pitched it to 5 feet, buried the eagle putt, and tied their match against Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. Next up, Europe was dominating the 2023 Ryder Cup at Marco Simone, but they needed to keep their foot on the gas. Saturday morning foursomes, and Jon Rahm was walking to the 17th tee with partner Tyrrell Hatton, knowing one magic moment could put their match away. But the par 3 17th was playing about 180 yards, with the pin tucked in a tricky spot. So Rahm pulled an iron, took one last look at the flag, and let it fly. The ball took off on a perfect line, tracking straight at the stick. It landed pin high and began rolling toward the hole like a heat-seeking missile. For a split second, it looked like it might actually go in. It hit the flagstick and stopped just inches away. Just inches from a hole-in-one. Just inches from Ryder Cup legend. Rahm threw his arms up, knowing he'd just handed his team an easy birdie and put massive pressure on the Americans. Hatton tapped it in, and Europe was one step closer to keeping the cup. For this next moment, we're going to watch something that never happened again. The 2006 Ryder Cup at the K Club was already decided. Europe had the trophy, the crowd was relaxed, and most of the tension was gone. But Scott Verplank wasn't done. On the 14th tee in his Sunday singles match against hometown favorite Padraig Harrington, he was playing for pride. The hole was a brute, 213 yards par 3. So Verplank pulled a 3-iron and took aim. The swing was smooth, the ball on a perfect line. It landed, rolled, and then disappeared. A hole-in-one. It wasn't just another great shot, it was history. After nearly 80 years of Ryder Cups, Verplank became the first American to ever record an ace in the matches. 5 Europeans had done it, but never a US player. Verplank had his moment. Sure, America was getting crushed, but that swing carved his name into Ryder Cup lore. Proof that sometimes the best shots come when the scoreboard no longer matters.